Dear listener, lean closer, for what I am about to recount is not found in your common textbooks or sung in the grand halls of kings. It is a tale of desire, of flesh and spirit, of whispered sins behind stone walls, cloaked in the velvet of secrecy. This is the story of medieval lust, of kings and queens who ruled not only with scepters, but with passions most forbidden, and the shadows that crept behind their gilded thrones. The year was 1347. Europe was a land of iron and faith, of towering castles and humble cottages, of whispered prayers and unspoken cravings. In the heart of France, the court of King Philippe the Bold was a place of both grandeur and danger. Courtiers bowed and curtsied, but behind the tapestries and oak-paneled halls, desire danced like a flame, threatening to consume the very souls of those who dared to succumb to it. It is said that Philippe, a man of both intellect and appetite, ruled not just with law, but with the subtle sway of his desires. His queen, Marguerite, was young and beautiful, yet already burdened by the heavy yoke of dynastic duty. Arranged marriages were common, and love, if it blossomed at all, was often forbidden or clandestine. Marguerite, though outwardly obedient, harbored her own secret longings, thoughts that fluttered in her mind like hidden birds yearning for freedom. In the corridors of the palace, courtiers whispered rumors of forbidden liaisons. There was Lady Isabel, a courtly beauty whose laughter could echo in the great hall like a hymn, yet whose nights were spent in the shadows, entangled in secret rendezvous with knights sworn to loyalty not only to the crown, but also to their own hidden desires. And the monks, oh the monks, robed in humility by day, but some, in the darkened cellars of the abbeys, penned confessions of sins in ink that glistened with shame and longing. History, dear listener, is not merely the chronicle of battles and treaties. It is the story of human hearts, of temptations that have shadowed kings and peasants alike. And it is here, within these walls, that we see how lust and power entwined like ivy around the stone, how desire could ignite plots, betrayals, and secret alliances that could topple thrones as easily as swords. In the court of Philippe the Bold, secrets were currency. The queen, Marguerite, found herself entangled in a silent war of the senses. Though her duty bound her to her husband, the absence of genuine affection left a void which was quickly noticed by certain courtly figures with discerning eyes. Sir Etienne, a young knight of unmatched valor, possessed a charisma that was both dangerous and intoxicating. It was whispered among the maids of honor that his gaze could make even the most disciplined lady falter, and Lady Marguerite, though cautious, felt the pull of this forbidden fascination. Even the king was not immune to desire beyond duty. Rumors of Philippe's encounters with foreign envoys' daughters, and even some of his own chambermaids, floated through the corridors. These whispers, though dangerous to voice aloud, were meticulously recorded by scribes who understood that the chronicles of lust could rival the importance of political treaties. Such liaisons were seldom for mere pleasure, they were instruments of power. A smile in the right place could secure an alliance, a clandestine tryst could manipulate a rival, and a carefully whispered promise could alter the balance of dynasties.
Monastic life, too, was not untouched. Monks who had taken vows of chastity often found themselves wrestling with desires that gnawed at their souls. In the abbeys surrounding the palace, hidden letters passed between cloistered brothers and the daughters of nobility. Letters inked in trembling hands, detailing forbidden longings, stolen glances, and confessions of nights spent in guilt and yearning. The confessional, meant as a sanctuary, sometimes became the stage for whispered exchanges that blurred the lines between piety and indulgence. But it was not only the nobility or clergy who fell prey to such temptations. Servants, cooks, and stable boys, those whose lives were often overlooked, were also drawn into this web of lust and secrecy. Hidden behind barrels of wine, in kitchens scented with herbs and roasting meats, forbidden embraces were stolen, hearts entwined, and yet the consequences, if discovered, could be catastrophic. Imprisonment, banishment, or even death awaited those whose passions were exposed, making secrecy both a shield and a weapon. The tapestry of medieval desire was intricate, interwoven with fear, ambition, and the relentless pursuit of pleasure. From the queen's chambers to the abbey's scriptorium, from the stables to the king's private council room, desire dictated actions, shaped destinies, and whispered in ears that should have only heard the voice of reason. In the spring of 1348, a series of clandestine encounters rocked the court. Lady Isabel, whose laughter had once been the melody of the great hall, was discovered meeting a foreign envoy's son under the guise of a moonlit garden walk. The consequences were not immediate, for secrecy cloaked them, but the chroniclers, ever vigilant, noted every stolen glance, every whispered word. The queen, Marguerite, found herself the reluctant observer of Philippe's indulgences. One evening, a lavish feast hosted in honor of visiting dignitaries became the setting for a forbidden rendezvous. Philippe's attention wandered from the ceremonial to the personal. His gaze lingered on a young courtier's daughter whose beauty rivaled the spring blossoms outside. The night, steeped in wine and candlelight, witnessed subtle exchanges. A touch here, a whispered promise there. Signals that would not have escaped the keen eyes of those trained in the art of courtly intrigue. The abbeys, too, could not escape the pull of flesh. Brother Laurent, a monk of reputed piety, had secretly corresponded with Lady Amélie, a noblewoman known for her intellect and charm. Letters passed under cover of darkness, carrying declarations of yearning that defied the strict vows of celibacy. These documents, later discovered hidden within prayer books, revealed the raw humanity of those who served the church, yet could not resist the natural desires of the flesh. And what of the common folk? In the kitchens and stables, servants engaged in secret trysts that mirrored those of their betters. A young stable boy, enamored with the chambermaid, would climb to hidden ledges to steal a brief embrace. While outside the castle walls, villagers whispered tales of forbidden love that sometimes led to violence, duels, and disgrace. Passion, it seemed, was a universal currency, sparing neither the powerful nor the humble. But desire in the medieval era was never safe. Power amplified lust, and lust often provoked danger. Knights and courtiers used romantic entanglements to manipulate, to gain favor, or to exact revenge. One chronicle incident tells of Sir Guillaume, who seduced the wife of a rival lord not merely for pleasure, but to weaken the enemy's alliance and claim land for his own family. The fallout was severe. Duels ensued, alliances crumbled, and whispers of betrayal spread faster than any army could march. Even the queen's own chamber became a site of intrigue. Marguerite, aware of the delicate balance between public duty and private longing, often wrote secret letters hidden in cushions and behind tapestries to confidants who advised her on matters of the heart. Through these exchanges, she navigated the treacherous waters of courtly desire, aware that a single misstep could lead to scandal, imprisonment, or worse.
By the summer of 1349, the court had become a theater of hidden passions and dangerous liaisons. The Queen's confidant, Lady Isabel, had grown bold, emboldened by the secrets she shared with the King's chamberlain. They orchestrated clandestine meetings within the palace, where silk curtains shielded stolen touches and soft laughter echoed like forbidden music. These encounters were not only personal indulgences, they were calculated moves in the intricate game of courtly power. King Philip himself faced temptations that threatened to unravel his reign. One evening, while the court dined under the grand chandelier, a foreign ambassador's daughter, rumored to possess both beauty and intelligence, caught his eye. What began as admiration quickly escalated to intrigue. Courtiers observed from shadows, whispering predictions of scandal and misfortune. The king, though cautious in public, indulged in moments of private desire that were both thrilling and perilous. Even the church, ostensibly a sanctuary of virtue, was entangled in these webs. Brother Laurent's secret correspondence with Lady Amélie came to light when a jealous rival discovered one of his letters hidden within a psalter. The exposure sparked outrage, scandal, and a series of confessions that rocked the abbey. Yet in these confessions, the raw humanity of men and women, constrained by vows, duty, and societal expectation, was laid bare. The chroniclers, ever meticulous, recorded these episodes as testimony to the complex intersection of faith and desire. In the kitchens and stables, too, the consequences of lust became evident. A servant caught in a forbidden embrace with a chambermaid was publicly humiliated, a warning to others who might risk passion over prudence. And yet, despite punishment and fear, the human heart proved resilient. Desire, once kindled, could not easily be extinguished, persisting in whispered glances and secret rendezvous. By the end of this tumultuous period, the court had been forever changed. Alliances shifted, loyalties wavered, and the interplay of lust, power, and secrecy left marks upon the very structure of governance. The chronicles of these events, penned by those who witnessed both sin and virtue, reveal a medieval world where passion was inseparable from politics, and where the most intimate acts could wield influence as potent as any sword or law.
The year was 1350. Across Europe, the Church stood as the ultimate arbiter of morality, guiding the souls of kings and peasants alike. Yet beneath its austere exterior lay a complex and often contradictory relationship with human desire. Monks and nuns, cloistered behind stone walls, struggled daily with the duality of their vows and their natural inclinations. Confessionals, ostensibly sanctuaries of redemption, frequently became theaters of temptation, where whispered sins were exchanged under the guise of spiritual guidance. Brother Henry, a monk of the Abbey of Saint Denis, was noted for his piety. Yet in the dead of night he found himself scribbling secret letters to a young noblewoman, Margot, who had been sent to the abbey for education. Their exchanges were fraught with longing, moral conflict, and the thrill of the forbidden. Each word they wrote was a tightrope walk between devotion and indulgence. The risk was immense. Exposure could mean excommunication, imprisonment, or even death. And yet the human heart often defied the dictates of piety, seeking solace in secret companionship. In the villages surrounding the abbeys, the common folk were no less vulnerable to temptation. Festivals and holy days, meant for celebration and devotion, often became opportunities for stolen embraces, illicit trysts, and the quiet rebellion of flesh against spiritual restraint. Lovers would meet beneath the shade of ancient trees, in barns or hidden alcoves, knowing that discovery could bring not only shame, but punishment, both physical and spiritual. Meanwhile, within the grand palaces, kings and queens continued their clandestine liaisons, but now under the ever-watchful eyes of the church. Clerics often served as both confidants and enforcers, their counsel sought in matters of morality, yet frequently influenced by personal ambition. The intertwining of sin, power, and penitence created a labyrinthine society where every desire carried potential peril. Even the rituals of the church bore the weight of human longing. Processions, masses, and penances were designed to channel the faithful toward righteousness, but the very spectacle of devotion could ignite passion. The scent of incense, the flicker of candlelight, the hushed voices chanting sacred hymns, all these elements stirred the senses, sometimes even leading the most devout into moments of weakness.
Now, dear listener, we step into the heart of conflict, where flesh and faith clash, and where the church's iron grip both condemns and conceals human longing. It is here that scandal and sin walk hand in hand, and where the price of indulgence is paid not only in whispers, but in blood, exile, or eternal shame. One of the most infamous incidents of this era occurred in 1351 at the Abbey of St. Clair. Sister Beatrice, renowned for her beauty and intellect, had captivated both novices and visiting clerics. Her secret liaison with Brother Pierre, a monk noted for his scholarly devotion, was discovered when a hidden letter slipped from her robes during a mass. The punishment was swift and merciless. Public penance, whipping in the cloistered courtyard, and confinement to a cell for a month. Yet even in punishment, their story spread, whispered among the faithful, a cautionary tale of desire versus duty. Meanwhile, nobles often sought to exploit the church's moral authority for their own gain. Lord Elaine, a cunning baron, used his intimate knowledge of a priest's illicit relationship with a noblewoman to manipulate political outcomes, threatening exposure if the cleric failed to support his schemes. The church, meant to be a sanctuary, became a theater of intrigue, where lust and ambition intertwined, shaping the destinies of both the pious and the powerful. Even kings and queens were not immune. Queen Marguerite of France, aware of the church's scrutiny, navigated her own desires with caution. Secret rendezvous were planned during festivals, under the guise of charitable duties, or in secluded gardens when the abbey bells tolled for vespers. The delicate balance between public virtue and private indulgence demanded cunning, patience, and above all, secrecy. The common folk, too, faced harsh consequences. A young woman caught in a forbidden tryst could be publicly shamed, subjected to penances designed to humble both body and spirit. A man's misdeeds could lead to flogging, forced pilgrimage, or excommunication. Yet desire persisted, like an unquenchable flame, finding outlets in hidden corners, whispered promises, and fleeting moments of intimacy. This tension between flesh and faith created a society both fascinating and perilous. Festivals, feasts, and religious ceremonies became stages for temptation, where the faintest touch, a glance, or a whisper could ignite scandal. Chroniclers recorded these events meticulously, blending moral warning with the thrill of human drama, capturing the paradox of a medieval world obsessed with sin, yet enthralled by desire.
Listener, now we step into the very core of forbidden romance, where royal secrets and sacred vows collide, and where betrayal is as likely to be written in candlelight as it is on the battlefield. In this shadowed world, desire and ambition are inseparable. and the consequences of indulgence echo far beyond the palace gates. In the courts of France and Burgundy, kings and queens played a dangerous game. Queen Marguerite, already adept at navigating the treacherous waters of courtly expectation, found herself entangled in whispered rumors about a young page, René, whose charm and cunning matched his youthful audacity. Their meetings were brief, yet the sparks of forbidden affection were enough to unsettle even the most seasoned courtiers. Meanwhile, clerics continued to exploit their moral authority for personal or political gain. Brother Henri, previously mentioned, had become embroiled in a scandal when his letters to a noblewoman were intercepted. The church demanded penance, yet some influential lords intervened, seeking to manipulate the situation to secure lands, marriages, or alliances. Desire, even when punished, could be wielded as a weapon of power. Royal secrets extended beyond the king and queen. Princesses were often pawns in dynastic negotiations, yet their hearts yearned for autonomy and intimacy. Lady Isabel, now older and wiser, had developed a covert correspondence with a visiting duke from Italy. Each letter carried coded language, hidden symbols, and references only they could decipher. Through these exchanges, forbidden love thrived, yet so too did the risk of exposure. The smallest slip, a misdelivered note, a curious servant, an eavesdropping page, could ignite scandal that would ripple through the palace and beyond. The interplay between the church, nobility, and commoners created a complex web of secrecy. Festivals offered cover for fleeting romance. Religious ceremonies provided a mask for longing glances. Yet the omnipresent threat of discovery ensured that desire was always tinged with fear. Those who indulged knew that a single misstep could result in exile, public humiliation, or even death. Historical chronicles of this period reveal a pattern. Where power and passion intersected, chaos often followed. Knights seduced noblewomen not only for pleasure, but to destabilize rivals. Monks and nuns transgressed vows to find human connection, and kings navigated the dangerous interplay between public morality and private desire. In this delicate balance, every smile, touch, and letter carried immense weight.
Now, dear listener, we arrive at the precipice where flesh and faith collide most violently, and where secrets, once hidden, threaten to consume all who dared indulge them. The Church's influence, both feared and revered, meets the relentless force of human desire, and the consequences are as severe as they are unavoidable. By 1352, the courts were a powder keg of desire and suspicion. Queen Marguerite's secret correspondence with René had been discovered by a jealous courtier. The scandal spread like wildfire, and for days the court buzzed with whispered accusations. Marguerite, ever cunning, maneuvered through the crisis with diplomacy, diverting blame while preserving her dignity. Yet the tension between her private desires and public duty grew unbearable, a microcosm of the broader medieval struggle between passion and propriety. Meanwhile, in the abbeys, Brother Henri faced the ultimate test. His secret liaison with Lady Margot, once merely a private indulgence, became a public scandal when a rival monk revealed their correspondence to the abbey's abbot. Henri underwent public penance, a month of fasting, flogging, and confession before the assembly of monks and visiting nobility. Yet even in this punishment, his human desire remained undiminished, hidden in letters and whispered conversations, a testament to the resilience of the heart against institutional authority.
The common folk were not spared either. A young peasant woman, caught in a forbidden embrace with a servant, faced both physical punishment and social ostracism. Her lover likewise was publicly humiliated, sent to perform penances at the village church while bearing the weight of shame. In these acts, the church wielded desire as both a tool of morality and a weapon of control, enforcing societal order while simultaneously acknowledging the persistent power of human longing. Yet amid scandal and punishment, moments of tenderness and genuine passion emerged. Lovers met in secret, scribes recorded their emotions, and stories of devotion survived centuries, tucked away in manuscripts and chronicles. These accounts reveal a medieval world not solely defined by sin and guilt, but also by love, yearning, and the eternal struggle between duty and desire. By the end of this period, the intricate interplay between the church, nobility, and commoners had reshaped societal norms. Scandals, punishments, and secret liaisons left indelible marks on history, chronicled by those brave or curious enough to record the truths hidden behind stone walls and velvet drapes. The medieval world, as we see it through these chronicles, is a tapestry woven from flesh, faith, power, and the human heart's relentless pursuit of fulfillment.
Listener, now we arrive at the final act, where the sins of flesh and the games of power collide with irreversible consequences. Here, desire is no longer merely secretive. It becomes a tool, a weapon, and at times the very currency of survival in a world ruled by kings, priests, and ambition. By 1360, Europe had endured decades of plague, famine, and war. Yet amid this chaos, the courts remained hubs of intrigue and temptation. In the French palace, whispers of forbidden liaisons and secret romances had grown louder. Queen Marguerite, now wiser and more politically astute, had learned to use desire as a subtle instrument of power. Her relationships, carefully cultivated, allowed her to influence nobles, manipulate rivals, and protect her children's inheritance. Princesses and princes, too, were not immune to the sway of lust and intrigue. Young nobles were trained in etiquette and diplomacy, yet their hearts often strayed in clandestine romances. One prince, for example, fell in love with a commoner, a daring union that risked scandal and threatened alliances. Their meetings were hidden behind palace walls and in the shadowed forests outside the city, where every touch carried risk and every stolen kiss could alter dynasties. Even the clergy were entangled in these webs. Monks and nuns, bound by vows of chastity, often found their authority challenged by personal desire. Brother Henri, now older and seasoned by scandal, continued to correspond secretly with Lady Margot, their letters chronicling decades of longing, strategy, and subtle rebellion against the rules imposed upon them. The Church, powerful as it was, could not extinguish the flame of human passion. The consequences of these indulgences extended far beyond the palace and abbey walls. Scandals erupted, alliances shifted, and entire families were affected by the secret choices of their members. Knights seduced noblewomen to destabilize rivals, courtly lovers manipulated the king, and even servants could wield information as a weapon of survival. Desire, once private, became a political force, shaping the very fabric of medieval society. A letter intended for a diplomat in a neighboring kingdom fell into the hands of a rival noble family. The contents were scandalous, secret rendezvous, intimate letters, and veiled threats against those who opposed her. The fallout was immediate.
Courtiers whispered, alliances wavered, and rival factions plotted retribution. Lady Isabel, skilled in the art of intrigue, found herself ensnared in a trap of her own making. Her manipulation of lovers and lords, though subtle, had made enemies who now sought vengeance. Meetings, once private, became the subject of gossip, threatening to unravel not only her own reputation, but the stability of the court itself. Desire, wielded as power, proved double-edged. Brother Henry and Lady Margot faced their ultimate reckoning. Their decades-long correspondence, previously hidden, was exposed by a rival monk seeking promotion. Public penance was demanded, and yet, even under scrutiny, their subtle influence remained intact. Letters were destroyed, but memories, alliances, and lessons learned ensured that their actions would resonate far beyond the walls of the abbey. The interplay of lust, guilt, and strategy had transformed ordinary humans into pivotal players in a dangerous game of power. The common folk, too, suffered. Servants and peasants who had engaged in forbidden trysts faced severe punishment. A young couple, discovered in a hidden barn, endured public humiliation, fines, and exile. Yet, even in these harsh circumstances, desire proved resilient, finding new ways to flourish in whispered exchanges and fleeting encounters. Through these events, it became clear. In medieval society, sin was inseparable from power. Those who understood the rules could manipulate desire to their advantage, while those who misstepped paid dearly. Lust, once hidden behind tapestries and behind closed doors, had become an instrument shaping politics, alliances, and destinies. Now, dear listener, we reach the end of this dark, twisting journey. The walls have heard whispers, the tapestries have hidden embraces, and the scribes have recorded the sins of flesh and power. What was once secret now shapes the course of kingdoms, revealing that desire is as potent as any sword and as dangerous as any betrayal. By 1367, the consequences of lust and secrecy reached their zenith. Queen Marguerite, despite decades of careful manipulation, faced a plot orchestrated by jealous nobles seeking to expose her private affairs and weaken her influence. The scandal, though partially contained, shifted alliances and led to several high-profile exiles. Those who had once wielded desire as power now faced the repercussions of exposure. Lady Isabel, whose cunning had long made her a central figure in courtly intrigue, saw her plans unravel. A former ally, spurned by a secret betrayal, revealed intimate details to both the king and visiting envoys. The repercussions were swift. Marriages were hastily arranged, political favors revoked, and reputations permanently tarnished. In this world, desire and ambition were inseparable, yet vulnerability was constant. Brother Henry and Lady Margot, having weathered decades of secrecy and scandal, finally faced a moment of reckoning. Their letters, once carefully hidden, were partially destroyed, yet enough survived to illustrate the enduring power of human longing. The abbey imposed severe penances, yet the clever correspondence and quiet influence of the two continued to affect local politics, marriages, and alliances. Even in punishment, desire remained a subtle, unstoppable force. Thus, across castle walls, abbeys, and villages, the interplay of lust, sin, and power left a permanent mark on medieval history. What began as a secret longing became a tool of influence, a source of scandal, and a mechanism for survival. Kings, queens, clerics, and commoners alike learned that desire could both empower and destroy, leaving echoes that resounded through generations.
Dear listener, now we step back, away from the flickering candlelight, away from the whispered secrets and shadowed halls. What you have witnessed is not mere history, it is a mirror of the human heart. Across castles, abbeys, and villages, through kings, queens, monks, and peasants, one truth remains clear. Desire is eternal, unstoppable, and profoundly transformative. The medieval world, with its rigid hierarchies and unyielding rules, could never fully contain the human spirit. Lust, sin, and forbidden love thrived even under the strictest supervision. Power was entwined with passion. Ambition danced hand in hand with seduction, and secrecy became both a weapon and a shield. Queens like Marguerite navigated a world where a single glance could threaten a dynasty, while courtiers like Lady Isabel used charm and cunning to shape kingdoms without drawing a sword. Monks and nuns, bound by vows, wrestled with the same primal urges that define humanity itself. Even the lowliest peasant, caught in fleeting moments of intimacy, played a role in this complex tapestry of desire and consequence. And yet, amid scandal, punishment, and betrayal, there was beauty, the courage to love, the thrill of secret longing, the subtle power of influence. These were the threads that wove humanity into history. Desire shaped decisions, rewrote destinies, and left an indelible mark upon the chronicles that have survived centuries. So, as you lay your head and listen, remember this. The medieval past was not merely a time of plagues, wars, and stone walls. It was a world alive with the heartbeat of passion, a testament to the eternal struggle between duty and desire, sin and conscience, flesh and faith. And perhaps in understanding their stories, we come closer to understanding our own.